personal loans, Desert Financial Credit Union is located at 300 McBeeline Highway inside Walmart. Their number is 602-433-7000.
They're like, okay.
And a big thank you to One Tom Plumber for sponsoring our KRIM Community Spotlight program. Good morning, Rim Country. Chris Higgins in the studio. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a chance to go out and enjoy our world's oldest continuous rodeo. A big thank you to our Payson Pro Rodeo Committee for putting that on again this year. They did a great job, and just can't thank them enough, and all the volunteers that help out with that rodeo as well. So this morning, we're going to be talking about the school budget continuation. In the studio, we have School Superintendent Linda Gibson and also Katrina Sacco. Good morning. How are you ladies doing?
We are good, thank you very much. Appreciate you having us here for a little while, just to kind of share information about what the budget continuation override is. And I think it's important to say that, yes, we have both, being part of the school district, taken personal time from our schedules to be here, meaning that we are not on the clock at this specific time. So
Hey, there you go. And I love the fact that we can get actual information, facts, out there to listeners and also viewers on our KRIM Radio Facebook page, because unfortunately there's a lot of misinformation, whether it's the school district, the town, whatever it is. There's just misinformation that gets put out there, and then people hear that and they share it, and then they share it with other people, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
So hoping that accurate information can get out there to everyone, if possible. So that way, and verify, it's good to verify
ask questions.
information,
Please ask questions more than anything else.
and data,
Right.
see the data, look at the numbers. That's what I always appreciate, is look at the numbers, see the data, and instead of just listening to hearsay and what ifs and speculation.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
where would you like to start?
So appreciate you asking. So first, I think it's important to share what your comments, opening comments there. And sometimes we hear, well, of course, that organization or this organization is going to say it this way because they want it to sound best.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about it sounding best. This is about what the numbers and the facts are with it.
Mm-hmm.
We are only here as a means to be transparent and an avenue for people to feel comfortable, to make connections, to ask questions within that. What we do believe to be some key important factors about the budget continuation override that is on the November 5th ballot is that it is not a new tax, nor is it a tax increase. It is important, I believe, to know that a school district anywhere in the state of Arizona can actually ask for a greater percentage, up to 15%. And Payson Unified School District's governing boards throughout the years since 2005 have never asked greater than the 10%. So that's why the word continuation is within the language that's being used. When you look at small schools that have 100 students or less, I think it's also important to note that they do get a dollar increase from their base level from the state. However, they do not have to ask their voters for approval. We fall into a size of a district that requires voter approval for this additional assistance in there.
And the voter approval happens, is it every 7 years?
It is every 7 years. However, generally school districts will go out every 5 years. And when I say that is because on year 6, 7, and 8, that's when it's phased out if the voters do not approve it.
Okay.
So with that being, this is year 5 of the last override election. Within that, if it does not pass, then the school district will be looking to cut approximately $600,000. I say approximately, it's 1/3 of what we received with a 10% override, and that is approximately $1.6 million every year. That dollar amount is based on our base that we get from the state. So if a person's net assessed value of their home or their property increases, that does not mean that the school district is getting more dollars to the school district
Gotcha.
within there.
And that's something to point out, it's based on the assessed value
Correct.
of the home, not the market value.
Yes, very different, right?
Yes.
If we were all taxed on our market value, oofta,
Ooh.
that'd be bad.
I looked mine up this week because somebody was talking about it, and the estimate on my home is $375 or so. So a smaller home in the Payson area, and the assessed value was $113, which means for my household, we'll pay between $50 and $100 a year.
Mhm. So the assessed value was less than a third
Mhm.
of that market value.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, and it probably is worth repeating multiple times during the program, is that this, with the school budget continuation, people's property tax isn't increasing
Correct.
because of this. It can increase, and most likely all of our property taxes will increase based on value, home value.
Correct.
So as home values increase, if they do increase, which is a very good thing because it means that where you're living is desirable, your home value is increasing, it's worth more money, then your property tax will go up because the evaluation is going up. But it's not because of the school district
Correct.
or this school budget continuation.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that is a big thing, is for people to understand the school budget continuation, the override is not going to increase your the property tax.
Correct. It is
Yeah.
not the culprit behind
The
that.
culprit.
Yes.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
any means, by any means. And
Uh-huh.
it also does not mean that the school district has overspent its budget. We have never overspent our budget. We are very financially conscientious about ensuring that we have the means in case of emergencies. So for those in our personal lives, we'd call that a savings account or a money market account or something to that nature that we would have to dip into if we had something major happening. We are conscientious in the sense that we know things break, we know things can happen, that we do carry a contingency balance every year for that protection. If we did not carry a contingency balance, and it is very small, we're talking it is in the $1 million area, which is very small for a school district our size. We are not talking tens of millions of dollars that we have in that account for emergencies or new positions if something comes up, or, you know, but it's very diligently thought through in terms of tapping into that, because we never do know what could possibly happen in a year's time. So that is the only area of our financials that come in from the state that is not budgeted to an area or an account and so forth. Within our management or maintenance and operation budget, that is where the 10% is at. It's within the maintenance and operation budget. That budget, 80% of that budget goes to people, meaning their salaries and their benefits. That is pretty much a norm in school districts for that percentage of a budget to go to people. We are in the people business. We are about making connections to resources for students, students to their futures, businesses and community to the school district, and school district to the businesses and community. And so it's really about how do we as individuals work to make those things happen, rather than the actual facilities and or even curriculum. In Katrina's area, smaller percentages actually go to those areas than sometimes I think maybe our public realizes or doesn't realize in there.
And I think we covered some of that last week on Thursday when we were talking about the beginning of the school year and just some of the highlights, the accreditations, the scores that the school district and schools have received. And it's, I feel, again, I know I'm probably biased, but the school district and the schools have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
With the students, instructors, teachers, and there's so much evidence, to back that up. But I always tell people, get involved with the schools, volunteer, participate if you can, show up at events, go to sporting events or other fundraisers that are being done, but get around the staff, the students, and you'll see that there's great teachers, great staff, and just amazing youth in our community.
I know Katrina can speak to a little bit about curriculum. Well, she can speak to a lot about curriculum, not
Yeah.
a little bit. But society has questioned curriculum over the last handful of years. I would say more so, or feels like more so, maybe because we're in the industry. But within curriculum, are people wanting to, do you want to share a little bit about where they can find curriculum and what they can go through, or if somebody was curious about what was being taught? I think that's important for listeners to know also.
Sure. So we use the Arizona State Standards, which are put out by the state. You can find those directly on the Arizona Department of Education website. And then we have a variety of resources on our own website, which are board approved, and they went through a 60-day period of review by the public, everything that we've adopted. So a curriculum adoption is actually pretty complicated legally. We have to convene a team. We're heading into a math adoption this year. We'll have to post notifications for when those meetings are, allow community to be involved. Then once the team selects a curriculum, then the community still has another 60 days to look at the curriculum to ensure that it meets their standards and give feedback. Traditionally, I haven't had much community input on that, and I'm really geeky about curriculum, so I'd love to talk to people about it. But we also added, there seems to be some conversation around, a lot of conversation around critical race theory. We added that as part of our criteria when selecting a curriculum. We actually instruct our committees to explicitly review it for that and rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, how appropriate it is, and if it has critical race theory, then they get a 1 and they're kind of knocked out of the process.
It's important, we believe, to be reflective of our community in which we live in, and the values that are strong within our communities, that we're also expressing those within our school districts in there. We talk about the budget continuation override and dollars amount that go into, and I asked Katrina to speak about curriculum because it has nothing to do with curriculum. It also has nothing to do with administration, which is clerical staff, as well as administrative positions. When you think of, a lot of times people think of those as directors and principals. It also has nothing to do with our physical facilities. 100% of the money that comes in from an override for Payson Unified School District goes directly to teaching positions. And it funds 24 teaching positions and their benefits. And those particular positions, and have been since the inception of PUSD calling for an override back in 2005, they have covered things such as within the area of music, physical education, dual credit for our high school, and I'd like to speak a little bit more to that one particularly as well. Our STEAM, which some still refer to as STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. It also ties to our intervention positions at all of our school sites, which is greater support for students who are in Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction, meaning that they need more direct individual instruction outside of the general instruction that's occurring in class. So then lastly within that is really about maintaining class size ratios that have been approved by the board, and not exceeding those and staying within those guidelines of those numbers is where 100% of that money that comes in from the budget continuation or voter approved override since 2005.
No, because again, you hear some people say, it just goes to administration.
Yeah.
It just goes to administration, and that is just not true.
It's not true. We can prove it 100%. We can show you financially exactly where that dollar amount and how it's coded to. And so we stand very strong and confident on that. And if anybody, as always, you mentioned get involved, go to, we welcome people to go through our campuses, of course, not unannounced.
Yes.
During
You can't just
school.
show up.
You cannot just show up, but
Yeah.
we are happy to walk you through, when I say Katrina and myself, on campuses so that you can see firsthand and make observations of what's happening within school settings. I've said that for the last 4 years. I've yet to have anybody take me up on that. So I would love to do that because that means I can stop doing some administrative work and actually spend a little more time interacting with our students, even though we do spend a lot of time on campuses, so please don't take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But at that sense, because we would love to showcase what's happening, and it would not be a dog and pony show because it would be unannounced, so you never know what you're going to walk into.
Yeah.
You mentioned we have amazing teachers. We are very fortunate in Payson Unified School District that every teacher in the classroom is a certified teacher, being certified by the state of Arizona, Arizona Department of Education. There are a lot of school districts across the state of Arizona who cannot say that. We have some longevity. When people move to Payson, they tend to stay. And so our experience within the classroom, Payson Unified School District, is quite high in comparison to other school districts. We are also the largest employer in Payson, and I like to refer to us as the true middle class hub of the Payson, the city of Payson.
I'd also like to point out that Arizona's administrative cost in general is quite low when compared to the national average. It's in the bottom quartile, and PUSD mirrors that. We're around the state average for administrative costs, so we have lower administrative costs than most school districts in the United States. And districts in Arizona, we have lower administrative costs considerably than charters.
Oh, and you also mentioned the dual credit.
Yes.
And that, I think, it's a wonderful thing for
It is,
students.
absolutely. For students, families, financially, 100% benefits them. We found years ago that we had students who were partaking in dual enrollment classes, but there was a cost to it. And we realized that we were missing the boat on students who couldn't afford that cost and not having an opportunity to receive college credit and high school credit at the same time. So within the workings of quite a few individuals, but some listeners might have heard of the organization Aspire, and a strong hand in supporting the cost of students to partake in dual enrollment classes, where all students now, regardless of their financial constraints, are all eligible to take dual credit classes on our campus during their school day and have an opportunity to either get extremely close or to fulfill an associate's degree before they even graduate from high school. That is tremendous cost savings to families, where we have students who are entering into universities considered as sophomore level entries because of the number of credits that they already have walking into them. It also is a benefit to students who, when we talk about dual credit and our CTE programs, are two different pieces. But in talking about universities or colleges, we'd be remiss to not speak of our trades. And when we talk about our career and technical education classes, CTE, with our building trades, our automotives, our culinary, our marketing, we've had engineering before. Agriculture. Those students have an opportunity to walk away from high school being certificated, industry certificated, which is also another level of opportunity for students. The override does not fund CTE programs, but I think it's important for our community to know that we are very strong in advocating for trades, military, full career employment
Mhm.
or college or university, is that we want to see all students have a plan post-high school that incorporates one of those four. And what we are seeing is students who are really taking advantage of that and the support that they have at our high school level to take those next steps into one of those areas, because all are of equal value in our mind. The most important thing is that they are productive and they have a plan, and that even if that plan changes, they're still moving towards their future and being productive citizens in society.
And it is great, you mentioned that students going into those different fields or down those different avenues are supported and also celebrated.
Right.
And recognized, and that's something I think that is important, and that PUSD, the high school, does a wonderful job at celebrating and recognizing those youth. I've never felt like there's more emphasis or students that choose a different career path are less celebrated than students that are going to college, where I think that is done, or that happens, especially in metropolitan areas, because they don't have the CTE programs. They just don't have those opportunities for the students that we have here in our school district, at our high school. So I think it's great to see that, and as you said, that's a reflection also of our community.
Absolutely, and that's what we want to be, is a reflection of our community. We're not trying to change our community's views, but to also understand them so that we can also practice those measures. Nothing is perfect in this world, right? But we just welcome people to ask questions rather than to make assumptions. And I think it's just important when we talk about the budget continuation and the override of what really does that fund, and that yes, it's part of the maintenance operation budget, and yes, that's where we pay people out of that budget, and what that budget is spent on, and the powers behind that. One that I think concerns, if for some reason the continuation is not passed in November, is the morale change that will ultimately affect our community at large, not just students, not just adults, but our community at large, with concern on, as we all know, do I have a job? And every position within the district would be looked at, not just those areas that are specifically paid for by the override at this time. It is a board decision, a school board collective decision, not a single school board member's decision. I think that's also something to point out to our community, is that the board functions as a whole, a 5-member board, that not one board member can make any decisions on their own. And the instruction or direction that I receive as the school superintendent comes from the governing board in that respect. We hope, I think it's important, one thing that we've kind of noticed is that people's votes do matter. They matter greatly, as I know, I'm sure you've had lots of those conversations lately with the change within our local council, mayor positions and so forth. And that we just want to encourage people to vote, and to get out and vote and understand what a yes or a no vote actually means and the impact that it can have.
And we're here today representing PCEA, so the Payson Citizens for Excellence in Academics. And you can get a lot of the information Linda's talking about right now on our website, paysoneducation.com.
Yes.
Or Facebook. So we have a Facebook up and running. And we are also, as a political action team committee, We are accepting donations if anybody is willing to provide.
All right, I was just going to bring this up. It's PaysonEducation.com.
I think so.
We just, the
There we go. It
committee
is.
just
It
got it
is.
up
It
last week,
is.
so that was a test for us if we remembered
Katrina's
it.
like,
Remember, this is not, the Payson PCEA
Mhm.
is separate from the school district.
Yes.
And so I just want to make sure that that is said.
Mhm.
But as anybody knows, when working to share information out, there is always a cost.
Mhm.
And within that cost, cannot come from the school district.
Yes.
And again, why it's important that people understand that we are here on our personal time and took time off to be here today to discuss this with you.
Mhm. And I brought up, again, the website. It's PaysonEducation.com. And then there's a link also to the Facebook page, Payson Citizens for Excellence in Academics. PCEA, and it was great. You asked before the program if I had a chance to go out to the rodeo this weekend, and I did. I was out there Friday night, and a couple young girls that I've known over the years coming into Scoops, when they were younger, but they came up to me and they said, "Hey, do you know about the school override?"
Really?
And we're out here talking to people, encouraging them to vote for that because they're both in band. And they're very concerned.
Yes, great article this weekend
yep,
on
and
Friday's paper.
They asked, did you see the article in the paper? And are you aware of this? And I told them yes. And I told them that I am behind it, I support it.
Thank you.
And they said, "Oh, good." And I said, "Great job. Get out there and talk to other people." There you go. So it was great to see them that
very neat.
active. and
I
out
did
there.
not know that, one reporter had asked questions and had shared that some students were getting actively involved.
Mhm.
The article was first we heard, or I did personally, of what students. I did see a group collecting or getting together. I think Katrina actually saw it first. A pizza factory last week or a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
and advocating for and taking their time to learn more about it as well within our district. So very neat, very neat to see young people sharing their voice with the community. For many years, there's been a lot of question about young people. Are they being educated within politics or government, within public schools? The answer is yes. We are not using school time to discuss the Payson Unified School District override. However, I think we're seeing more and more of younger generations being more actively involved, and it's great to see it here in our local community.
It is. It is great to see. Well, it is that time. It is 10:30.
Look at that.
I know.
It goes so fast.
It does. It goes fast.
Thank you
but,
for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing
Appreciate
today. Again, if you want to find out more information about the school budget continuation or override, you can go to PaysonEducation.com or on Facebook. It's Payson Citizens for Excellence in Academics. And get information there. And there's also a way to contact people if you have questions, want to verify some information, you heard something, and you just want to see if it's actually true. Reach out. There's an email, phone number as well. So I encourage you to talk, ask questions, talk to some people, and get as much information before you vote in November.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Well, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Katrina.
for
Thank you,
your support.
Linda. Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you to everyone listening and watching this morning. Also, thank you to One Tom Plummer for sponsoring our Community Spotlight program. Time to get back to the music here on KRIM with some Aerosmith, Rush, Spencer Davis Group, and more. But first, let's get an update from the National Weather Service.
With this morning's KRIM weather forecast for Payson and surrounding areas, I'm now Camping Meteorologist Corey Hallbrook.
See you guys.